This podcast is brought to you by Soapbox. Start your own podcast today at www.soapbox.host.
Welcome to Season 3, Episode 1 of Wednesday at 9 p.m. Tonight, we will find out how Professor McGonagall is inspired by a terrible poet, why one cemetery's most famous resident is a dog, and why homeless people can awaken dark poltergeist. This is Wednesday at 9 p.m.
Is it the dog that's in Nick?
No, I was going to say that you should know, being from the city, the dark spirits from the homeless people.
Oh, God.
Starting the show off classy, boys. Love it. So for those of you listening in, our loyal one listener, probably,
Me.
you've probably noticed we've been radio silent for quite a while. This is because we have outside lives. This is not this is not our main cash flow, seeing as we have zero sponsors and whatnot.
So be Life Water, we're still waiting.
Yeah, if you guys have sponsors that are willing to put their name on this,
I wonder if there's still a company, So Be Life Water.
I think it's owned by Coke.
Pepto-Bismol. Nice.
But yeah, we all have different things going on, career-wise and life-wise. So forgive us, but we're back, hopefully, for a consistent schedule now.
Yeah,
We're back.
I don't know if we hit the episode amount, number of episodes in season 2, but I feel like continuing season 2 wouldn't make any sense. So even if it doesn't, it's the writers got, there was a writer's strike. It was bad. We had to
New year, new us.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's April.
Even though
Almost.
the last episode was published in February, little producer secret, it was recorded way before then.
Yep.
Months before then.
Yeah. So this is the first episode of the new year. And like Nick said, we're going to be releasing it in April.
Of next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before we get further into the story, I think our normal routine is shout outs. So do you guys have any shout outs?
Shout out to my amazing girlfriend, Sarah, who just became an official PhD candidate, passing her very scary candidacy exam. So she's been working so hard for weeks, for pretty much a month straight. And it's finally paid off. Now she can relax. So we had some nice Taco Bell. So shout out to the Taco Bell drive-thru being empty. And shout out to her for doing a great job.
Nice. I bet Marvin was proud.
He was very proud. We went to a brewery together a few hours ago.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, right.
Shout out to my mom, who will love that we're starting back up again.
Yes, our true fan.
David Hoy, if you're still out there listening, Frank will message you on LinkedIn.
I literally typed in LinkedIn as you said that in the tab. That's so funny.
So expect a message, maybe by carrier pigeon. But yeah.
All right. I think there's a few more shout outs. I got a shout out to Fallon and to Astonishing Legends, which got me back into wanting to do paranormal stuff. They've got a really good podcast and inspired this episode. So I put my own spin on it and didn't just direct copy paste. So don't sue me, but they're a good podcast. So you should check them out in addition to keeping on our podcast. But as always, a shout out to Troy from Nick. So
Can't forget it.
True.
He'll be happy.
After months, still can't forget it. So
You know what they say, an elephant never forgets.
true. So
I forgot that.
I think that's all the administrative stuff out of the way. Are we ready to dive in? This story's a little on the darker side. So
Are you replacing me this season?
doing a different
no,
character
because
arc?
it's like historical dark, like messed up.
Kind of like Cropsy.
Like,
Yeah, but better.
Are you doing like
I'm sorry.
like academic gothic?
Yeah, should I have like tea and be wearing a sweater listening to some like indie punk band
no.
On Spotify, like ambiance.
with a plaid plaid
unless-
skirt?
Unless 17th century Scotland was really into indie goth.
No, definitely they were wearing plaid skirts.
Yeah, actually,
True.
very prescient, Nick. Nice.
Thank you.
So, without further ado, we're going to be talking tonight about the world's most haunted cemetery, Greyfriars Kirkyard in Edinburgh, Scotland, or as the Scots pronounce it, Edinburgh.
Thank you. Oh my goodness, you were.
I'm not going to pronounce it like that because I'm a stupid American.
Oh man.
But yeah, the Astonishing Legend podcast really was a stickler about the pronunciation. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to be.
It was probably Scott more than Forrest.
Yeah. So before we get into the paranormal of the Greyfriars Kirkyard, I want to give some historical context that's hopefully like interesting enough to keep our listeners engaged until we get to the actual spooky stuff. So stay with us, folks. So first off, Greyfriars Kirkyard, I'm going to break down the name there because there's two parts. Greyfriars, this one's a little more self-explanatory, I guess, gets his name from the old Franciscan, I guess, friary, which is essentially a bunch of Catholic monks. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that used to wear gray robes. It's as simple as that. That's they inhabited the area, and then they dissolved in like 1560, and shortly after the churchyard was founded. And Kirkyard actually comes from the Scottish word for church, which is kirk. And then so it literally means churchyard.
Makes sense.
It is a cemetery, not a graveyard. I know Nick is a big stickler for that.
I do not. What is the difference? I don't remember.
A graveyard is on or near, like on like church land. A cemetery is not.
You sure you don't have it backwards?
100%. A cemetery
Really?
because you know how you try to do things with letters? You'd think, oh, church and cemetery go together. Nah, it's the opposite. A graveyard is where a church is located. A cemetery, there is no church.
Okay. Your explanation did not help.
Is there a religious building on the premises?
I guess not. I don't believe so.
But it's a churchyard. Wouldn't it have had the church?
I don't know. They referred to it as a cemetery. Maybe they just got it wrong.
I don't think people use the differences really.
Terms.
I don't think they care anymore.
Okay.
Sad.
Well, it's a churchyard. So I use the word cemetery because that's what they used in the research. So I apologize if I got it wrong.
So what, all the dead people there?
Yeah, I apologize.
Well, you don't want to get haunted, you know?
True. Especially not by some of the residents. But so yeah, after the friars dissolved in 1560, this churchyard was founded to kind of replace St. Giles Cathedral because it was overflowing with stuff. We'll get into that a little bit, but it was not the largest of places, so there was a lot of bodies and not a lot of space left. So
mass
if
graves.
I'm remembering. Yeah. So the most significant piece of history surrounding the Greyfriars Kirkyard is that of the Covenanters. So I don't know how good your Scottish history is.
Lacking.
Scotland forever.
Okay. So I'm going to go through this as though you know nothing, because I knew nothing going into it. So in 1638, we're jumping ahead a little bit. Thousands of Scots signed the National Covenant, which is just a national document that, aimed to oppose many of the changes that were being implemented by James VI and Charles I. So similar to for
us Americans, like the Declaration of Independence, I guess.
Okay.
So this group was aptly known as the Covenanters, and they disagreed essentially with the church structure and doctrine of Scotland. So they were very, I guess, pro freedom of religion, or instead of the rules and regulations that James and Charles had put in, and eventually in 1640 took control of Scotland. So their reign would not last too long because there were a lot of civil wars, and obviously the government wasn't too keen on a few thousand Scots just taking over. So there was a lot of wars, a lot of decades of violence. I'm not going to go into each battle because there's a lot of history, a lot of battles.
Cool.
It doesn't really matter to our story, but feel free to look it up in your own time. One important battle that I am going to briefly talk about is the Battle of Bothwell Brig, which is the Battle of Bothwell Bridge in modern day English. So in June of 1679, over 1,200 Covenanters were eventually, after the battle and death on both sides, were taken captive and sentenced to prison. And there were a lot, like I said, hundreds of Covenanters also died in this battle. Now, there's a lot of prisoners here. 1,200's a lot.
Yeah.
And in the 1600s, there's not, just mass prisons and whatever set up. So the Scottish government had to kind of think about how they want to handle this, and ended up making a makeshift prison in Greyfriars Kirkyard. So the prisoners were contained in a walled-in area that was part of the Flodden Wall. No idea what that is.
Sounds German.
It could be, and I believe it was something along the border of Scotland. I could be wrong. If people really know this and they're listening, I apologize, but feel free to correct me. And this walled-in area soon became known as the Covenanters' Prison. And the prison was overseen by a guy named Sir George MacKenzie, the Lord Advocate of the Scottish government. Few things there. One, earlier this week, I learned the difference between Mac and Mick.
Oh.
MAC is Scottish. MC is Irish. I didn't know that.
Interesting.
Yeah. Mid-20s, no idea. I don't know. Obviously, that's not something to teach in school.
Yeah, I think that's okay. That's good knowledge to have, but I don't blame you for not knowing.
Well, my coworker's last name is MAC, and he explained it to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense now. So,
wait, so
MacDonald
MacDonald was Scottish? Old MacDonald?
No, well, Old MacDonald, yes, but McDonald's is Irish.
Wait, which one was the nurserygram? Is it MacDonald or McDonald? Old Mick?
I don't know. This, unfortunately, I did not anticipate you asking that question, so my notes are lacking in that department. But while you look that up, the Lord Advocate, fancy term, pretty much, I think, equivalent to just like the highest justice person. So like they deal with the punishment and whatever. I forget the direct analog for like American government, but pretty much this guy is the head authority on justice and punishment. So, Frank, do you find Old MacDonald or?
It appears it's MacDonald, and the Wikipedia doesn't have great info, but it says it was probably written by a certain Thomas de Uffray, who was an English writer and playwright who wrote plays, songs, jokes, and poems. But now it says it might have existed as a folk song in Britain, Ireland, and North America for hundreds of years first, and then was standardized in the 20th century. So I guess, I don't know if they mean in Britain. Do they really mean Britain? Are they including Scotland? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's from that region.
Britain with an O.
Oh, the Britons, the peoples. I don't know. Yeah, interesting. No one actually. There's like a citation that says, like, for this sentence, provide sources for this. So I don't even know if what I just said is true.
Gotcha. So
no one
it sounds
knows.
like we're gonna have to do a story on that in a later episode.
Old MacDonald had
Yeah.
a podcast.
Sorry for the tangent there, but George MacKenzie was not a kind man to his prisoners, to the point where I think in one of the articles I read, the prison is often considered a sort of concentration camp. And I don't mean to make light of the term or whatever, but that's how bad things got.
They're really focused there.
Yes. Okay, Frank made light of the term, so
Okay. When shaking their head. That's funny.
but I'm gonna go into some of the conditions that they endured. For 4 months, these prisoners were housed in an open field with no protection from the elements. So imagine, and this is June to, let's say, November. It's not the warmest, like, yeah, in the summer it is, but once you get towards October, November, it's not the warmest out, and all the rain and stuff. It
rains there a lot.
What's that, Nick?
It rains there a lot. So
yeah. So it's not really good to just stand out in the rain. That's one of the basic human needs. So already not off to a great start. Another human need taken away is food. They were fed. And now I've seen contradicting sources. One source said 1 ounce of bread, but most of the others said 4 ounces of bread per day, which still isn't a lot. I looked it up, about 75 calories in 1 ounce of white bread.
So they were having like 300 calories.
Maybe 300 calories a day.
Yikes. That's like me typically when I forget to eat.
Not for bread, though.
No, I never
you
forget bread.
you eat 4 ounces of bread in an hour.
In my sleep.
Yeah.
So, yeah, 300 versus your daily recommended. I mean, nowadays it's recommended like 2,000, but still 300 is like really bad. Like there's pretty much the equivalent of eating like one protein bar, and that's your whole meal, or that's your whole day's worth of food. So two like critical human needs taken away. They were forced to experience unspeakable hardships. I couldn't find specifics. I can only imagine how bad it was, but I'm sure they were put to work throughout this process. And in this 4 month span, some prisoners died, some were executed for, going against the government, some escaped, some were kind of traitors and signed a bond of loyalty to the crown, etc. So like there was a lot of different fates, but there were a lot of people that died in this prison for one reason or another. And after the 4 months, there was 257 of the original 1,200 prisoners.
Oh my God.
Jeez.
Yeah. So I can't imagine
Like
too many of them.
20% left.
21.4. I did the math.
21.4.
Nice.
But yeah, there were, I can't imagine too many of them signed a bond of loyalty or escaped. It was probably largely death and execution, if I had to guess.
Sounds about right.
So after this 4 months, you guys were probably thinking, okay, well, what happened? Well, the prisoners were then taken on a ship to head to the Americas, which wasn't founded yet, but there were colonies there. And in an unfortunate or fortunate turn of events, whichever way you view it, the ship wrecked, and 48 of the 257 men were able to escape to the coast of Orkney Isles. I didn't see what happened to them after the fact, if they just went on to live normal lives or what.
Hope so.
I hope so too, but we're talking 48 escaped out of the 257, which is again, roughly 20%.
So they didn't make it very far in the ocean.
No, it does not seem so.
I don't know where Orkney Isle is.
I don't either. I didn't necessarily look because it wasn't like critical to the story, but yeah, there's a lot of tragedy here. And because of how poorly the Covenanters were treated while in this prison, Sir George MacKenzie earned the nickname Bloody Mackenzie, which the Scottish spelling is Bluidy, but it's just pronounced Bloody Mackenzie. So in 1691, Bloody Mackenzie died and was buried in a crypt in the Greyfriars, just 100 yards from this prison that he established and ran. So irony.
Yeah, why?
I don't know. It didn't really say. I can't imagine he chose it, but maybe he did, and maybe it was just that. Maybe he was just sadistic and just really wanted to, make people upset. But his crypt there is now known as the Black Mausoleum. So that's a lot of information to take in. I'll just brief pause before getting into some more context. What do you guys think so far? What are your opinions of how all this tragedy went down? And can you see where I'm going with this context?
Sounds like a lot of positive energy in this area, in this region. Yep. I'm sure the ghosts here are friendly.
Maybe well, actually, probably not to other Scottish people. A Scot killed them all.
Unfortunately, I don't know that I have any information to support or disagree with that claim. But yeah, there's a lot of tragedy here, like you said, Frank. And maybe there's things lingering into the afterlife. So we will see that later towards the end of the podcast, because I'm going to get into some lighter stuff, but I have a few more tiny tidbits of dark stuff, and then we'll get into some lighter stuff, and then finish it with some dark, spooky stuff.
And a dog.
We good so far?
Great.
Yeah, the dog is not in the dark, spooky stuff.
Okay.
Well, it may be dark, but depends on how you feel. So to continue here, a quick note, 1500s to 1600s. Guess what's going on?
In Scotland?
Yes, or the world in general.
The age of exploration.
Well, yes, but the plague.
Again?
I think
there were multiple waves of the plague. For sure.
Oh. I know the 1300s one.
Yes, that was one, but I believe there's also a plague running amok at this point.
So those guys no one told them to wash their hands?
No, just not.
Classic European immune system.
Yeah, nobody told them to have plague parties like we do with measles nowadays.
All right.
Anyway, so yeah, a lot of people were dying, hence the need for this Greyfriars Kirkyard to be established, because you got to bury so many people. And I read somewhere, I don't remember the source, that sometimes these groups of people just piled up and they referred to them as corpse mountains.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Because I mean, you got to figure you can't just like bury people all day. And, sometimes people were taken that were really badly sick, but not dead. So it's not uncommon that people were buried alive in history and in this graveyard.
In the corpse mountains.
Well, they may have been put in the corpse mountains, but no, they were actually physically buried.
Oh.
And I don't have a source for this other than Astonishing Legends mentioning it.
I believe them.
they had mentioned something about, you know, obviously you guys know about the bells in the coffins, like you ring it. Those didn't always work because the bells, I think, were also underground, but perhaps more twisted is that some of these graves, you know, they looked and saw like claw marks at the top of the coffins because people weren't dead, and you can only imagine being buried alive and fighting to escape.
No, I don't want to imagine that.
So
you don't have to.
Yeah, I did the imagining for you.
I do recall hearing about how we really, even to this day, there are a lot of places in the world that, maybe in less developed countries, that don't have fantastic ways of telling whether someone's dead yet, versus in some like catatonic state, or like we think the indicators of death are really, really, really obvious and anyone can tell, but it's often not clear. And there are many cases of people who are assumed dead reviving. So I'm not surprised that, as you know, easily going back to the 1600s, that happened all the time. Terrifying thought. Terrifying.
Unless you're in Haiti.
Yeah, true. Because you could get,
then you just become a zombie. Yeah.
True.
Don't get the reference, but
I think
Frank or I can do an episode on that one day.
All right.
That's part of their it's just what they do. They come back as zombies, I think. Anyone from Haiti, let us know.
Please confirm.
Any zombies?
So yeah, a lot more negative energy being put into this graveyard. And lastly, another fun historical fact about death is that it wasn't uncommon for medical students to rob the graves.
Classic.
I've heard so much about that. That was a problem in New York City in the 1800s. Yeah, it was huge problem.
Yes, it was a problem pretty much everywhere in the 1800s because, you know, we were trying to study medicine at that time, and
black market for bodies.
Yeah, that as well. But yeah, a lot of grave robbery for medical purposes or otherwise. And some graves in this kirkyard have steel frames on it called mort safes. And I think I included a picture, which we will include in the show notes. But
wow.
If you guys scroll down, there's a little grate looking thing. That's a mort safe to prevent people from. Yeah.
Do they work? I assume it was more of a deterrent.
I think so.
Go rob the poor person who couldn't afford a mort safe.
Yeah.
Who might still have the plague on them.
Yeah.
True.
They don't. Miasma was probably still a thing back then, where people thinking that's how germs spread.
Yeah, but I think scientists found a flea from like way long ago, like millions of years or something, that has the Black Death.
Oh, good.
Or like a form of the Black Death still in it or something like that. Crazy. But yeah, there's a lot of negative energy and crime committed because they eventually made it illegal to grave rob for medical purposes.
Good.
Shucks. I can't go desecrating graves anymore.
Yeah.
Can't take grandma.
Nope.
Those were the real dark ages.
Yeah, and then you had the Victorian mummy parties. Crazy time.
Gosh, I feel so bad for our listeners that have just no idea what we're talking about sometimes.
Okay, quick interjection. Rich people in Victorian England used to get mummies and eat them.
What?
Yeah.
Over a mistranslation.
Yep.
Yeah.
So anyway,
that somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, now that all the dark most of the dark details are out of the way, I'm going to lighten things up because I'm sure some of our viewers are trying to listen at night and
like me, I'm scared.
Yeah. So a few lighter facts about the cemetery. Did you guys know that many of the names in the Harry Potter series are named after tombstones in Greyfriars Kirkyard?
Oh,
Really?
That's pretty cool.
Yes.
That is very
J.K.
cool.
Rowling lived in Edinburgh, and the city and the Kirkyard inspired her with some of her characters, including a grave with the last name Potter. I don't think they said the first name in the article I read, but there was a grave with the last name Potter that obviously inspired Harry Potter. There's an Elizabeth Moody that inspired Mad Eye Moody.
Mhm.
Spelling's different though.
Yeah.
There is a Margaret Louisa Scrimgeour. I don't know how to
Scrimgeour, I think.
Scrimgeour.
I
We'll
don't
go
know.
with that.
He was the Minister of Magic after Cornelius Fudge.
Yes. So Margaret Louisa Scrimgeour Wedderburn inspired
Oh my God.
Minister of Magic Rufus Scrimgeour.
Yep.
A very funny inspiration comes from the infamous Scottish poet William McGonagall, who inspired Professor Minerva McGonagall.
The goat.
Well, she may be the goat. William McGonagall, not the goat.
Oh.
In fact, the opposite of the goat. He was a very bad poet and is like widely regarded as like one of the worst poets in
How are you a
Scottish
bad
history.
poet? Like,
Well,
what?
I can read you one of his poems.
Yeah,
if you want.
let's hear it.
And it is in not Scottish, but like it's got
Old,
the
like English sort of.
yes.
All right, I'll
Are you
defer
gonna
to
do
Frank though if it's bad or not, because Frank is more. He's better with literature than I am.
Let's hear it. So I'm ready to be wowed.
On yonder hill there stood a coup. It's not there new. It must have shifted.
That's it.
Yep, that is it. And for those wondering, coup is referring to the Highland cows, I believe. So he literally wrote a poem about how there is a cow standing on a hill and it's no longer there. And his only explanation is that it could have moved.
I think this is an allegory for the Black Death. Maybe.
Yeah, he was just misunderstood.
Honestly, could be. So he wrote a lot of pretty bad poems, but that was one of the funnier ones that I saw that just highlights his skill level.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
So yeah, unfortunately, McGonagall got short end of the stick in terms of inspiration, but you know, she made the name a little better in the series.
True.
And even Thomas Riddle was in Greyfriars Kirkyard.
Oh.
Yeah.
So Frank, that's Voldemort in case you didn't know. Spoilers.
I think I knew that.
Spoilers. It is 2025.
First of all, you can't. I thought
the Harry Potter series.
Aren't you not supposed to say his name?
No, that's you're thinking of Sauron.
I'm bleeping both those names out.
Okay.
People have to guess who we're talking about.
It's funny that you mention He Who Shall Not Be Named because I'm pretty sure that is actually on one of the tombstones in Greyfriars Kirkyard. Just like, He Who Shall Not Be Named.
And there's
no way.
There's no name to that person, I presume. See, J.K. Rowling actually did live the dream of sitting in like a coffee shop with it raining and writing a book.
Looking at the window at the next door cemetery, going, I need a name. Potter?
Exactly.
Actually, for Potter, do you think it's related to, do you guys know what a Potter's Field is?
Yeah, it's just a bunch of poor people buried there, right?
Yeah, so I wonder, like, was that person's actual name Potter, or are they just saying a poor person was buried here? I don't know. Could also just be someone who did pottery.
Yep.
Is in a potter. Who knows?
Could be. I don't know where I saw that information, by the way, about the He Who Shall Not Be Named. If I can find it, I'll let you guys know. But
that'd be crazy if that actually is there.
I do know that Thomas Riddle is in there for sure.
Nice.
Like I have a picture of it, I believe, actually on the show notes. Thomas Riddle Esquire.
Oh, he was a lawyer.
Is that what that
It
means?
would seem,
I believe so.
but yeah. So interesting stuff. I'm wondering if I maybe misinterpreted the article and just said like it said he shall not be named, and they were referring to Thomas Riddle. but
Maybe.
maybe I don't know. I thought I saw it somewhere. Apologies.
Yeah, let's go with the original.
But-
It's cooler.
Yeah, it was totally there, guys. I promise. So yeah, Harry Potter inspiration. Neat fact. Another neat little light story. I guess you could consider it dark, but it's generally light. Is Greyfriars Bobby. So there's a Disney movie about this. Frank, I don't know if Sarah has watched it. Probably not. It's from like the 1960s.
Is it related to Herbie Goes Bananas?
It is not. I
Okay.
think it is called Greyfriars Bobby,
Oh.
1961 film.
Oh, well,
Gotcha.
I'll have to watch it. I don't think either of us have.
It's got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. So
Really?
Pretty good.
yeah, 7.2 on IMDb. So
It's not that bad.
yeah. So anyway, this might be spoilers for the movie, so apologies, but here it goes. The story goes that there was once a man named John Gray who was a police officer in about 1856. Obviously before that, but I'm going to start the story at 1856 when he got a new dog, a terrier named Bobby. And after about 2 years of owning Bobby and living life and whatnot, John unfortunately passes away and was buried in Greyfriars Kirkyard. And Bobby, the dog, missed his owner dearly and would then move to spend the remaining 14 years of his life, which is pretty long for a dog, all things considered.
It is.
But Bobby spent 14 years beside the grave of his dead owner. And a lot of people came to visit and feed and, give Bobby attention during his life. And he became very famous. And unfortunately, in 1872, Bobby did pass away and was given a tombstone close to his owner a few years after, although his actual burial spot is probably outside the cemetery because he's still a dog after all.
Wow.
I'm just saying you gotta there are specific lots for people and you're not gonna necessarily, this is gonna sound bad, but waste the space for a dog just because a dog is so much smaller than a person.
That reminds
You're not
me of
gonna-
the time I found a dog's grave in my neighbor's backyard.
Like a tombstone
Like a
or
marked grave?
No,
Oh, you found the dog?
yeah, well, the bones of the dog.
Well, okay.
Oh, wow.
I figured.
Yeah, we were doing Chris and I, we were doing some landscape work for one
Friend of the
my,
show.
Friend of the show. We were doing some landscaping one summer in high school for a teacher. And when we were digging to do some of the work, we heard like a thud, and then we kept going, and we got her husband out, and then we saw this like wooden box, and we opened it, and there was a skeleton of a dog wrapped in a blanket.
Wow. How do you
I
know it
thought
was
you were
dog?
gonna say
I don't remember, but we called animal control, the whole shebang.
probably 4 legs would be a good guess.
Yeah, well, I didn't look. I
Was
didn't.
it their dog?
No, it was not their dog.
Oh,
It was some previous owner's dog, but I don't think that it was lost in translation that there was a dog buried in the backyard. So yeah,
interesting.
Spooky.
But yeah, anyway, Bobby was given a statue right outside the cemetery gates as well, which I've included a picture in the show notes.
nice.
Nice.
Of it's honestly a pretty decent sized statue, and you can see
Wow.
his
Yeah.
tombstone with a lot of flowers and whatnot.
So the dog Bobby lived to be what, 16?
Yes,
That's pretty good for a dog.
Is the dog
Yeah.
snout like that because people rub it?
Probably, if I had to imagine.
Yeah. Like tarnished.
Or the lights hitting it that way, but you're probably correct that they're just rubbing his nose. But yeah, that's a neat little story, and a very famous story about Greyfriars Kirkyard that I thought would lighten the mood a little bit. And
a dead dog.
Well, the fact that the dog spent 14 years next to the grave of his owner.
He lived a long life.
Sad. What
It's
Disney
not
movie?
sad.
What is going to be the
It's
Disney
wholesome.
movie?
It's heartwarming.
I don't know.
What do you mean Disney movie? In Tarzan, some guy hangs himself.
It's a
What are you
great,
talking about? What are you talking about? There has to be nice.
or is 14 years of the dog like a time lapse of the dog getting older?
Well, they actually did that in Futurama. I'm not even joking.
Of a dog, or
Like,
isn't it the main character?
of a dog? Well, no. I mean, so spoilers for those who haven't seen Futurama, but again, it's
Lot of
been
spoilers.
around for a while now. Are you guys good if I spoil?
What? Isn't that a
But-
TV show with hundreds of episodes?
Yes, but spoiler. So, the main character gets frozen in time and is 1,000 years in the future. And when he gets frozen, this stray dog that always visited him in the pizza shop, was waiting for him, every day after, he gets off of work or whatever. And then he doesn't show up, obviously, because he got frozen in time in a time machine, I guess, or cryogenics, sorry. And the dog sits there outside the pizza place for years and years and years, and eventually became fossilized, and there's a whole episode on it and whatever. But yeah,
Wow.
so I guess it's not too uncommon for dogs to just like be by their own, or like wait for their owners. But it was interesting with Bobby because it's not a usual spot that they would go to. Like, they wouldn't just be like, hey, boy, this is where I'm going to be. This is where I'm going to be buried someday. Like, it's not somewhere that they would be, so it's interesting that the dog somehow knew.
Now I
this is-
see. I did not pick up on that.
My God.
Did you really think I was like, yeah, there's this dog one time that lived for 14 years, then died?
Yeah, I didn't pick up on the fact that it's weird. It
Frank,
knew where
dog is
person
man's
was.
best friend.
See, this is because I've never had a dog. I've never had pets. I don't get it.
Well, get ready.
I know.
Yeah, I'm adopting a dog on your behalf and putting it in your house, but you have to find it.
Hey,
I'm gonna find it fossilized.
look on the bright side. He'll probably take better care of it than some of the pets in his apartment complex and their
That
owners.
is so. Oh, don't even get me started. That's so true.
For those of you who don't know, there are some pet owners in
A lot of pet
Frank's
owners.
apartment that don't. I will say, I'm assuming they take care of their pets, but let's just say the animals go where they please.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Maybe the owners are actually dead or in time travel or whatever, and the
That would
dogs
make
are
more
left to fend for
sense.
themselves. Maybe
That would make
Bobby
more
is still
sense.
alive in my apartment.
after all this time,
After all this time,
200 like 150 years later.
stranger things have happened.
That is
True.
true.
And to get into some of those Stranger Things segue, I'm gonna bring us back into the creepy stuff. And
Yeah.
some more paranormal things, which is what the podcast is about. I know I spent a lot of time on the history, but I feel like it's important, especially remembering the whole Covenanters and Bloody Mackenzie. So we're going to fast forward here. 1990s. Okay. It's been a while.
90s kids know very well, don't we?
Yes. Late 90s. There was a homeless man. It was raining, heavy rain, heavy wind. This homeless man needs shelter. So he looks around for shelter and finds, probably unbeknownst to him, the Black Mausoleum,
Oh.
which seemed like, hey, that'll be good shelter. I'll be out of the rain, out of the wind. So he finds a way into the Kirkyard and enters this crypt. When he got in there, he found a narrow set of stairs that lead down. And he's like, okay, well, I can get even better shelter down there. So goes down the stairs. And once he gets to the bottom of the stairs, the floor breaks.
Oh,
I don't know if it's probably just old wood or whatever. And he falls through. Not enough to like hurt himself or whatever, but he falls through. And if you had to take a guess without looking at the notes, what do you think he found?
a dead body, or maybe there wasn't one.
Well, it's not really necessarily, I guess, Mackenzie's body, but there were many, many, many human bones.
Like a family crypt.
Something like that. I don't know whose bones these were, but there were a lot of human bones. It could be.
Oh, yeah.
But there were a lot of human bones. He manages to pull himself out, fled the crypt, and found someone, I guess, walking it says he found a dog walker, but I can't imagine a person walking their dog in the heavy rain and wind. But maybe if you have an umbrella, it's not so bad. And this homeless man describes to this dog walker, whatever he had just seen. Now, I'm not a gambling man, but I would bet that this man saw more than just bones when he disturbed this crypt. But there's no written account of that. But I'm speculating he may have seen some spirit as well as a bunch of bones. I mean, bones enough to creep me out, but if I saw bones and then a spooky ghost, I think I would run as well.
Do you think the dog walker was actually referring to a dog walking?
What?
You saying it's Bobby and his owner?
No, like a dog man. A dog walker. Like a skinwalker.
I do not think that is the case.
Like walking on two legs.
Oh my God. Could you imagine you see a ghost and then you run out and you're like, oh, hey, dog man, can you help me out?
You run up to someone, like it's dark, you see the silhouette, you're like, I just and they're like, what's wrong? And then like lightning flashes and it's a dog man walking a human.
Okay, we don't need to get a glimpse into your fantasy.
Yeah, that's something different. That's scary. Do you think he took a bone as a souvenir? I hope not.
I don't think so.
It'd be a bad idea.
He was really, truly looking for shelter and got more than he bargained for. And, ran and told his story. And I don't know what happened to that guy after that. Maybe he's still alive. Maybe he's still around. But I'm sure he was pretty messed up after that. So not only did this scare the crap out of him, but after this disruption of the crypt, there was a significant uptick in paranormal activity in the Greyfriars Kirkyard.
Oh. Wow, shocker.
Yeah. So hence the homeless people causing poltergeists.
Oh.
So there were many accounts. I'm going to talk about a few. People said that they remember feeling touched in the Kirkyard.
Aww.
They remember feeling hot spots, cold spots, scratches on their face, back, and arms. Red welts that seemed to pop up in like seemingly impossible spots or spots that, they don't remember hitting or bumping or whatever. Like these strange marks just appearing in places that there was nothing there or didn't feel anything there. And, because it's a cemetery, I think there are tours and things going on, and probably with the uptick in paranormal activity brought in paranormal tours as well. And so people are seen by the tour guides that just get these marks and clearly isn't something they could reach or do to themselves. So interestingly, people have passed out before, during, and after entering crypts in the Kirkyard.
That's weird.
Yeah, like in this crypt, I could understand, but like before even getting to a crypt, it's kind of messed up. Now I'm gonna butcher this name. Can anyone try and help me here? It's Siobhan. Shoban.
Siobhen.
Han.
That sounds
Shoban.
Irish. It's definitely gonna be something bizarre.
Yeah, it's
I feel like they were from
it's
Australia, if I remember correctly.
even worse. Sorry, Ben and
Gee.
Aaron.
It looks like it could be
Saubin.
Siobhan.
If they're Australian,
Siobhan.
Irish Gaelic.
Yeah, the name
the
is.
origin according to AI overview.
I've seen
yeah, that's
another spelling for it is Shavan. It says English pronunciation Siobhan with the emphasis on Vaughn. So Siobhan.
Okay.
So I think you were pretty close.
Okay. So Siobhan Roos experienced several
It's actually reused.
severe bruises.
Sorry.
Experienced several severe bruises that were medically confirmed by a doctor to be consistent with that from a physical attack. It's not just like, oh, I bumped into something. No, it was a physical attack.
did they
Like someone punched her.
did they like say ow, or did they just show up?
They just showed up after visiting the Kirkyard.
So you go there, you experience no pain or anything, and then you leave and you're like, oh my God, why do I look like I just got mugged?
Exactly.
It was a homeless guy in the crib.
He's just really sneaky about it. There's a woman, Kate Luskin, experienced feeling something touch her ankle while in the Kirkyard, and the spot on her ankle stayed cold to the touch for 2 days.
Oh,
And
2
there were
days.
lines on it resembling claw marks that I don't know if they still remain or if they remained for those 2 days. But and again, I don't know how long this lasted, but apparently that spot does not tan
Okay.
in the sun.
You know, if you just said like like hand marks, like someone grabbing you, that'd be okay. But you said claw marks. That's
Yes.
what does that mean?
It means like somebody took their hand and like
Yeah, I know.
clawed,
I know.
and then that spot is cold, and then imagine you're at the beach or something and you go tanning, and then you just see claw marks that are just pale white, and the rest of you is like a nice golden tan.
that's I hate the idea of it being cold for a few days, because obviously that's implying, even though you leave the vicinity that the, say entity is in or whatever your experience is in, something remained with you. You took something home.
Yeah.
I just had the craziest revelation of my life. So what do we know, right? In folklore, wards off ghosts. Iron.
Garlic.
What do you use for better blood flow so you don't get cold? Iron. Coincidence?
Wait,
So what if it's like a circulation problem? All circulation problems are caused by ghosts.
then I am so haunted, man.
Exactly. You need
Fallon too.
You need iron. I cracked the
Dude.
case.
Doctors hate him.
Sometimes we have these like dumb shower thoughts where like, bro, like we're high, like moments, but I think it's funny.
So you're saying iron supplements would keep the ghosts away?
Yes. I think we figured it out.
We should start selling branded iron supplements then.
Ghost away, iron
Ghost away.
supplements.
Patent pending.
Diversify our streams of income.
Yeah.
Yeah, from 0 to 1.
That's very diversified. Then that's infinitely more.
That's true.
True. So some more experiences. There was a child, they didn't say what age, probably like middle school or high school, skipped school, and the teachers were looking for him, so he hid. Guess where he hid, guys?
The Black Mausoleum.
Exactly.
Why would you do that?
Who's gonna look?
Is
for
this
you
in like
in
the 2000s?
graveyard?
Is this in like the 2000s?
Probably like 90s to 2000.
Okay.
And so who's gonna look for you in a graveyard, Frank?
Obviously, someone did if they found them.
Well, yes, they eventually found him in a state of hysteria that he supposedly never recovered from.
Oh my God. He's like 12. He saw
I don't know
unfathomable horrors.
I don't know the extent to which he didn't recover, or maybe he just like, isn't willing to talk about it or has no memory of the day or something.
We gotta track this guy down.
Yeah,
Get him on the show.
I'm sure he's real willing to talk about it.
Imagine the interview. He'd be in his like 30s or 40s.
Yeah,
or
he's
something.
just screaming straight through it. He's never stopped screaming.
He's in a straitjacket.
So, all in all, there's been over 350 different accounts of paranormal
Oh my
experiences. Yeah. Now, obviously, not all of them can be verified, but you have to imagine not everybody's making it up.
No.
So, this is like one of the most haunted places on the planet, and it's certainly one of the most haunted cemetery or graveyard. And the general belief is that the poltergeist is none other than, you guessed it, Bloody MacKenzie.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if things have kind of petered out there. I don't know if they're still doing tours or not. I don't think they are. I think they've closed it to the public, but could be wrong. I've got some sources in there. Feel free to read it more thoroughly than I did. But I got one more story that I want to dive a little bit more into depth about, and then we'll kind of talk about what we've talked about today. So there is this spiritual medium named Colin Grant. I don't know if any of you are familiar. Probably not. He was mostly like a low scale medium psychic. I'll take that as a no.
Oh, I thought you were looking at our webcams. No,
yeah, never heard
we're shaking our
I'm
head.
sorry, I was looking at the notes.
All good.
So he performed an exorcism because he was asked to in 1999. People are like, hey, there's this spirit here that is haunting people and causing problems. Can you come exorcise it? So he goes to Greyfriars Kirkyard. He's got his Bible, crucifix, candle. I think he brings with him a journalist and a photographer. And as he goes in and begins the ritual in a late November night, he starts to say, hey, this exorcism is unusually difficult. And he was originally tasked with trying to say, hey, Bloody MacKenzie, get out of here. And it got so bad and so difficult that he gave up trying to confront Bloody MacKenzie and instead set out to free the souls of the hundreds of Covenanters that were buried there instead. So that's already red flag number 1. Red flag number 2, the photographer that was with Colin Grant at the time took a picture, and I've got this in the show notes, and over his shoulder, there's a dark, mysterious figure that is inside a locked and empty church that was moving at the time the photo was taken. So obviously it's a little blurry, but if you guys scroll down and look, it's the last image. They kind of zoomed in on it in the top right, but there's this figure inside the church that
in the window,
seemingly, yes.
Okay, I see. I think
obviously it's not like, oh my gosh, that's it.
The silhouette.
There's this dark looking silhouette in the window that's captured, and obviously back then it wasn't photoshopped or anything. Like that was how it was.
What a creepy photo of the guy.
Yeah, it's overall not a super pleasant picture, but more importantly, right after the flash went away, and this is red flag number 3,
Colin Grant collapses
Well,
and barely conscious keeps repeating, this exorcism, or I'm paraphrasing here, but this exorcism is going to kill me, and just keeps repeating, this is going to kill me, this is going to kill me. It didn't at right at that point, but yeah, he collapsed and was extremely weak from doing this exorcism. And a few months later, he died of a heart attack while performing the seance at the age of 66. Now, he had a bad heart. He was on medication, but he seemed to be kind of on the mend. And so it still took his family by shock. But a little funny tidbit, he was performing a seance, and his final words were to the person that he was doing the seance for is, "You were the last one. I have not got any good news left, only bad news." And then he just dies.
Oh. Is that...
Yeah.
Are you saying he said that, or he was speaking that?
He said that.
As his own volition, or he was like channeling? Like,
I believe it was something like he was from what I understand, had a decent sense of humor and whatever, but I'm assuming the way I'm interpreting it is, he's saying, yeah, I'm done doing seances. I don't have anything good left to say, so see ya. And just kind of peaced out.
So you were the last one that I'm going to give a seance for, like that sort of thing?
I think so. I think that's how I'm interpreting his final words. So yeah, that's a very interesting story I found. Granted, the heart attack is not like for sure caused by, but probably I could believe it would be exacerbated by this if he's collapsing to the ground and saying, this is going to kill me. Especially as a psychic medium, if you believe in psychic mediums, they have good intuition about that kind of thing.
You also hear that mediums get drained by their work.
Yes.
I've heard that going back even to the earliest ideas of mediums, which was like the 1800s. Well, when it was big, like the 1800s. People would lose body weight and energy. So I can imagine someone with a bad heart and participating in these sorts of things. Bad combo.
Yeah. Supposedly his heart problem didn't slow him down, according to his wife. So I don't know if maybe this exorcism just really drained him, because like a normal seance shouldn't be all that difficult for an experienced medium. So, especially if they're not communicating with a malevolent spirit, you got to figure this exorcism took a lot out of him.
Do you think he pissed off Bloody MacKenzie?
Oh, 100%.
And he came back and got him?
I don't know about that, but similar to the woman that had like the cold spot on her ankle, kind of like left like almost like a paranormal scar in a sense. Like it affected her life energy in a sense. You know what I'm getting at here?
Sure.
Or am I just speaking gibberish?
No, I gotcha. Yeah.
But I'm wondering if, he just like took years off his life after this exorcism.
This is why you have certain people do the exorcisms.
Certain trained, educated professionals.
Yes.
I mean, a psychic medium's not the worst, but yes,
Yeah, you need a large, at least.
A psychic large.
Yeah. Extra large if you want to be safe.
I would take, I'd take the Catholic priest doing the exorcism.
A Greyfriar, even.
A Greyfriar, yeah.
Oh.
Very spooky ending story.
Yeah. So that's all I got about Greyfriars Kirkyard. What do you guys think? You think it's all bogus? You think any of this actually happened? What do you think is all behind all this? You think it's Bloody Mackenzie? You think it's a bunch of spirits?
I think like 350 people saying something happened, that I'm not one to think people are lying. They're not making money off of this, as far as I know.
I can't imagine people are making money off of claiming scratches and whatever.
Exactly. So it's like, it's the classic, they might be experiencing something and it might not be paranormal at all, but they think something's happening or something's actually happening. And I mean, I something definitely happened to all those people. For our psychic friend, probably just like a coincidence with the heart attack, but I agree. I can't imagine passing out doing something like that and then with a pre-existing heart condition is going to help your longevity. So
yeah. So do you think like Bloody Mackenzie like attacked him while he was trying to do the exorcism to be like, these are my prisoners like forever and you're trying to free them?
I don't know. When you hear of like people that get really involved in all this stuff, it's much more like prolonged of like the phenomenon, like it consumes them entirely, and then they just eventually go off the deep end, and things may happen weird after that. But I don't remember any stories where it's like someone interacted with a ghost and then they like died right after, and like I don't think the ghost killed them.
That's fair.
Because even the stories that we've heard and I've talked about with you guys either on here or otherwise with like demons, the demons don't kill you. They may put seeds into your mind to do bad things, but they don't do it. So I don't think that like Bloody Mackenzie directly, if it was related, I don't think he would have directly caused that to happen. Just because I've never heard it in any other story or other like, famous paranormal investigator and anything like that.
Yeah.
Can I play devil's advocate here?
Sure.
Okay, say some supernatural force killed someone. Well, how would that story ever get to us? And how would we know to count it?
That's true.
They're dead. They can't. Dead men tell no tales. So we don't actually know if paranormal forces can't directly kill people. For all we know, people who just, someone has a heart attack at night, we just consider that a death by natural cause. But what if it's not? They're not going to tell us. So at the same time,
I suppose.
At the same time, I'm just trying to steal, man.
We've heard so many things of like it consumes you first, and then maybe something happens after that.
I don't think looking
the
into
turnaround is too quick.
Yeah, people interested in the paranormal and pursuing that don't tend to add years to their life. They don't tend to get healthier mentally or physically, for sure.
Yeah, definitely not.
So I would not be surprised that pursuing that, being in that field, negatively impacts your life, shortens it, and further complicates existing, conditions. But I'm curious.
You think
about,
that's going to happen to us?
Oh, I got like 3 years left because I'm about to.
Unrelated
to ghosts.
I smoke 10 packs of cigarettes every day.
Yeah, cigarettes. I'm curious. I recently heard it said when listening to a podcast about a haunted Navy ship, a decommissioned Navy ship. But in general, the ghosts, it was more positive experiences. And there's this idea that there were ghosts there from all the previous crews that served on it. And it was pleasant. And one of the arguments made by one of the researchers was like, well, if you're a ghost and you can go wherever you want, why would you go to places like cemeteries or hospitals, places where you had a bad time? Wouldn't you go to where you had good times in your life, where you want to relive? And so they're making this argument that ghost hunters and researchers often look at places where ghosts would want to avoid, like cemeteries and hospitals and sanatoriums. But you can't deny stories like this where you hear dozens or hundreds of negative paranormal experiences in, cemeteries, hospitals, whatever it be. So I wonder, if you are a ghost, stick with me. If you're a ghost and you can choose where to go, you're probably not going to where you died. But if you are a ghost and you can't choose where to go for whatever reason, like you're in that category, those are probably the people that, or the souls or the spirits, entities, whatever, that are forced to stay in places like Greyfriars, Kirkyard. So I wonder if like it kind of self-selects for negative experiences because it's only spirits that are kind of not able to go anywhere else. Like if they had the choice, they certainly wouldn't be there.
Well, I mean, if you believe the whole energy thing, like, there's a negative energy, so there's ghosts. So it's like, if there's a lot of positive energy, why couldn't there also be ghosts if they just want to be there? So I think you're right. But I also think the, playing the Ben and Aaron mysterious universe angle, none of it's good.
You don't think any ghosts, any kind of...
Very, very little of it is good. Like crisis apparitions, I'm sure, are good, right? Or third man effect. Like that's a good thing. But most experiences, not good.
Casper the Friendly Ghost?
That is ghost propaganda.
Oh, by Big Ghost?
By Big Ghost, not to be confused with the energy drink. We are no affiliation and no slander or libel towards that company. Yeah. I'm sure they make a fine product.
And we would love to rep it.
I think they're sponsoring a college basketball tournament, actually.
Really? Then they could throw us some money.
I think so.
But yeah, so I believe that, I do believe that there are places that have, if the ghosts there, if it's true they have ghosts, would be positive. But it makes sense to me that cemeteries, you're not going to have friendly ghosts wandering around there. You're just going to have negative things. So I believe it. And I certainly wouldn't go hiding in the Black Mausoleum. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be the last place I go.
Yeah. At least I'd start with the gray one first, the white one, and then, work my way down to the black one. Like, worst case scenario.
No, and you start with the white one because Gandalf the White.
Exactly. And the purple one. Go through the whole rainbow. And then black.
Radagast, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, nice. So that's my takeaway. I believe it, but maybe people should go looking for friendly ghosts in less negative places, like not where people die.
I would just not look for ghosts at all.
True.
Hitchhiker effect.
I disagree with you there, Nick. I'm not going to Greyfriars Kirkyard. But like a friendly ghost, like Dr. Best House, those spirits haven't really been malevolent ever.
That
So
of.
like that, I mean,
good memories in the house.
Anyone has experienced. Yeah.
Oh, definitely people died there, right?
So yeah, the people have died there, but it wasn't like, oh yeah, they got shot in the Dr. Best, office. Yeah. It was more of like, yeah, they passed away because they had liver disease or something.
Just to get like a shootout in Middleburg.
Yeah,
be crazy.
But yeah, I agree with you, Frank. There are positive spirits, but I do think that there are reasons for spirits, even if they are thinking positive, they might still want to appear in these negative spaces like the cemetery to attract attention. And not necessarily in this case, but like, hey, something really bad happened to me and I need you to figure out so that I can have justice and know that whoever was behind it can be recognized and remembered as what they are.
Sounds like a supernatural episode.
Oh,
that could be us. We're lacking.
True.
Aaron, there are so many stories of that, which I don't think people realize. There are stories of spirits of dead people showing up and saying, "This is how I died. This is who killed me," and then being validated. I just heard one yesterday. That was insane. That is like in court records.
I've heard of that.
It should be it was in like LA in like the past 100 years.
Counterpoint though, when we did the Ouija board episode, there sometimes the Ouija board also says, yeah, your husband's cheating on you or all these other things and it's just wrong, and then you try to kill someone.
That's true. Don't listen.
Okay.
Take everything with a grain of salt that you hear from disembodied voices.
And don't use a Ouija board.
Yeah, but Nick, you're probably attracting negative spirits. I'm not saying there aren't negative and positive spirits, but
no, I fight them.
Oh yeah, because you take Wednesday at 9 p.m. iron supplements.
Exactly.
You hold the iron pills up. You're like, across the one hand, an iron pill
in holy water.
Yeah, yes, it's that's all you need, and a bag of rice for the fairies to have to count.
I thought vampires too.
Oh yeah, there's also folklore. If you dump a bag of rice, a fairy or a vampire would have to sit there and count every single grain of rice.
They just have terrible OCD.
I think that's Sesame Street you're thinking of.
No, that's a Muppet A Christmas Carol.
Oh, what a good film.
But anyway,
with ghosts,
I think Frank and I have
ghosts in it, with spirits.
That's true. I think Frank and I have said our piece. Aaron, do you have anything?
Yeah, what do you think?
What do you think?
I think Bloody Mackenzie's out there. I don't know why maybe he's just really a crotchety man and just doesn't.
He's
like
definitely
people.
Not a good man. That's
no.
You made that apparent.
He is not. And honestly, I could believe that. His place of death has been disturbed, and given his demeanor during life, I could imagine he would get pretty upset at that fact.
What a hypocrite.
And then also if people are like, "Ooh, this is so interesting. I like this place." No, I made this a prison and you're devaluing what I put my hard work in, even though in reality it's a terrible thing. Maybe he was proud of it, and now people are like making fun and kind of like, "Oh, I hope something happens to me." And yeah, they're probably like essentially taunting him, like, "Hey, why don't you do something to me and mess with me?" And he probably is like, "Okay, if I get to beat you up, sure." So I wouldn't put it past that there's a malevolent spirit here.
Wow.
I would never go. If I was in Scotland, I would never go.
Maybe for inspiration to write a book about a wizard, about a wizard school.
No, I can't even risk it.
No, fair enough.
I'll just use Chat GPT to come up with names for
There you go.
Oh
wizards.
my god. What if can we make a pact that if we go to Scotland together, we would go?
Yeah.
And lock Aaron in the Black Mausoleum.
Yeah. At Wednesday.
And
or on a Wednesday.
9 p.m. At midnight.
At midnight with a Ouija board.
At 3 a.m.
With a full moon.
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine bringing a Ouija board to the Black Mausoleum?
That's a terrible
because
idea.
I won't buy one.
That
sounds like the worst. That sounds like the worst thing you could think of.
Yeah.
So, all right. I think that's all for tonight. Next Wednesday at 9 p.m. episode. Do we have any idea? Frank, I think you got something cooking.
We're going to an hour north of us right now.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll be hearing about the story of the Beast of Aber Road in the town of Whitehall, New York.
It's pretty up there.
Yeah, in the Adirondack region of New York State. A spooky beast story from 1976, I want to say. that has had repercussions up until this day and has had repeated sightings up until current time. I'm very excited to share it.
Awesome.
And then I guess I'll be after that, and I'll find something. I have to come in
Coming
swinging.
hot, like Aaron has.
I have a good option, but even I'm afraid to do it.
What a teaser.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. If you liked the podcast episode, let us know on whatever platforms we still promote on. I don't know if our website's up to date, but
On Soapbox it
leave
is.
us feedback there. We go to soapbox.host. Is that correct?
/ so it's in the link in the description.
The ad read will be at the start of the show.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. And, you know, if you ever find yourself in the middle of the rain and wind, make sure you pay attention where you're going